Hello, everyone. Welcome to DADennial. Today, my guest is Brian Parana. He is a health and lifestyle coach who helps busy dads drop the weight, ditch the burnout, get their energy back without extreme diets or gym guilt, as they say. He's a husband, a father of 4. He knows firsthand how hard it is to stay healthy when life's a constant juggle. So let's get into it today. Without further ado, Brian, how are you doing today?
I am doing so good, Mike. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the time, energy, and aim to bring a lot of value to our listeners.
I guess I want to ask first if we were kind of talking off air here, but tell me your origin story. How did you get into the gym and the fitness world and coaching, lifestyle kind of coaching?
Well, Rocky, right? Rocky Balboa. The training montages totally got me, right? I just love that part of the movie and all the movies, right? My oldest and I, we actually would work out. I'm in my barn right now. We worked out and we watched all 6 Rockies and then all 3 Creeds while we worked out this summer so far. It was a blast to connect with you. Never seen them. And we just jammed the radio when the montages came on and everything. So we just had a blast. That was the beginning. I love training, and it led into early young was baseball. I tried to be a basketball player, but I couldn't catch a ball apparently, and it just wasn't that good at it. But I got into running. That led into marathons, that led into triathlons, that led into training and exercise, that led into an exercise nutrition degree, that led into group exercise first. I had my first actual real job was a maintenance person at the YMCA where I folded towels and swept the floor and all this. But the exercise director said, "Hey, you're a young able-bodied male that needs to teach these classes because we need someone to teach them." So Mondays 5 to 5:30, Phenomenal Abdominal was born, and people would line the room with their mats to save their spot on Mondays. And I did that class for years in a couple different studios, and that was the origin. And then it's just evolved into personal trainer. I've owned 2 gyms, and I've been doing remote health nutrition coaching the last 12. So there it is.
Yeah, sounds like a lifelong passion that you've always been into the learning and the training and kind of that feeling of knowing how it feels and how it can impact not just your life, but anyone's life that gets into it.
Yep. I found something that I could exercise and get paid for it. That was the best part when I started teaching exercise classes. Like, oh my gosh, I get paid to work out. This is amazing, right? When you're 19, 20, like that's a dream. And then, it just evolved. And then there's just this personal congruency now at 42. I have to take care of myself just so that I can show up for all the crazy busyness that's going on. Being a father, there's so many things. You got your business, you've got your clients, you've got your family, the kids, and the laundry list of demands that are just constantly there. And the honey-do list. We've got that too. And how do we get it all in and get it all done?
What made you kind of get into find your niches or niche, depending on how you say it.
Right. Who you
asking?
But
for working with men specifically, it sounds like that is kind of your target nowadays, is helping men. Looking at what you're talking about in their 40s. Like myself, that's kind of I'm like, I can't eat what I used to. I can't, I have to do more to stay even, at a level. How did you kind of move into that and kind of do what you were talking about, the virtual training part?
Right. Well, let's go back to the Phenomenal Abdominal classes. Mondays 5 to 5:30, downtown Akron, Ohio. Who showed up? Business professionals in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And then I went to, after I graduated college with an exercise nutrition degree, I worked in a fitness facility out in West Akron called Lifestyles, and they had a thriving personal training community. And I was quickly booked in 2-3 months from open to close, it felt like. Working with business professionals and people in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, juggling all these things. And as my beginnings in this industry were around people juggling all those things. And then I got to know them and I understood them and we had active conversations. And I'm with this person a couple times a week talking to them about how to better themselves and their quality of life, their body weight. That was obviously the main driver usually to get in shape and lose weight. And that's where it started. And then
Right.
from moving through the last 2 decades, I in my 40s now, 42.
Hmm.
I want to look and feel the way I do now when I'm 50. I want to
Yeah.
have energy, vitality, that word. I want to have muscle when I'm there.
Hmm.
And the silly story I tell myself is I want people to be confused about how old I am, right? Because humans, we're going
Right.
to age and we're going to get older. That's just the fact of life. I want to look as young and youthful as I can.
Hmm.
And the talking to my circle of friends, I have what I call the four amigos. So we
Okay.
have Leo and Dan. They're actually from my high school cross country running days, track days. So I
Okay.
still talk with them. I'm going to see Dan on Friday. I saw him last Friday. Leo, I don't see as much. He's got a business. I have Chris, who I'm going to work out after we're done. We're working out together, and with my two older sons, we're going to work out here in the barn. And then Andy, I'm actually running with Andy tomorrow. Three of the four guys, we're all in our 40s.
Hmm.
Three of the four guys they're business owners, and all of us have three or more kids.
Well.
And because we've connected with fitness, it opens the door and the gate to be able to have actual real conversations.
Right.
And I don't get access to conversations like this in any other area of my life. I
Hmm.
could, any acquaintances, it never has time to get into the depths of actual real conversations. And then when I look around in the social circle, men in their 40s, it feels as if we're all living a similar life. We have stacking responsibilities of bills, mortgage, we've got kids, we've got
Right.
business stuff that we're doing. There's Our modern world is changing dramatically. So what is
Hmm.
it to be a father now in comparison to what our parents were? My
Right.
dad, he's 70 now. His role as a father is radically different than how I have to show up as a father. And then even
Right.
my grandparent, right? My grandparents, their
Hmm.
role as a father is dramatically different. And I find that men, not to say that we're lost in a sense, but there's a lot of drift. There's a lot of lack of direction. In a sense, there's no owner's
Right.
manual, and they're just swirling around, and ultimately they're gaining weight, which then makes them less effective, less influential, less persuasive, less of, let's go back to even caveman days, less as a threat, right? If
Right.
someone's overweight, they're just visibly less of a threat as someone who is, you don't have to have six-pack abs, but if someone looks
Right.
fit, you walk into a room and people notice, oh, this guy's fit, he's healthy, he takes care of himself. Instant status, instant
Right.
confidence in whatever that guy is saying, regardless of how much he does or doesn't know.
Right.
So there you go.
I think you're touching on two of the biggest points that I kind of make with DADennial and my work with men 18 up of
Hmm.
our lifestyles are so much more sedentary now, right? And
Yes.
even thinking of like our grandfather's days of no, you were out more, you walked more, you did more
Right.
things.
Right.
That was just part of life. And now as the years have gone on, that right, how do we stay active? And I think that touches on
Sure.
the next piece that you were mentioning of life's not just more sedentary, but we're so much more isolated now. Right? We're doing things
Yes.
either working from home or
Right.
if we're at work, then we're coming home. Of like, where do we find that time?
Connection. Right? Where do
Right.
we find connection at? I don't know
Right.
outside of fitness, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing is through the fitness, through the physical activity, there creates connection. And think of the good old days of high school, whether you did
Right.
football or I ran or I was in the trenches with other boys at the time, right? But
Yeah.
I have 2 good friendships that have still lasted 25 plus years because we
Yeah.
ran in high school and we were just goofballs and we connected and we still send stupid memes and gifs and jokes and
Right.
everything. We're actually I'm trying to get all 3 of us together for a happy Gilmore watch party. So just because that movie came out when we were
Yeah.
around that age, and it would just be a silly fun time to spend together because we have very limited time, because again,
Right.
4
No, it's
kids or
important.
more.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's important to always carve out the time. It's always important to kind of have that thought in your mind
Right.
of course it's easier to say no. Of course it's easier to be like, I'm tired. I don't want to meet.
Yep.
It is a literal mind shift of, and for each person is different, but for me personally, it's keeping that sense of we're only here for X number of years doing X
Right.
number of things. So if I have
Right.
the opportunity, I may be a little more tired the next day, but it's worth it to spend time because you know how you feel afterwards,
Right.
and whether it's with your friends or whether it's with going to the gym. And I think one thing that you're talking about that rings very true to me is I think I struggle of staying on that track and staying to where I want to be more fit is that isolation piece, right? If I'm just doing it alone, if I don't have the accountability, if I don't have someone checking in of either going with me or just seeing if I'm doing it, and that's trying to find that for myself. I think that's not just my struggle, but for so many guys because in the psychology world it's the 15-minute is the adage of if your gym or if it's not at your house or somewhere nearby, you can talk yourself out of it so quickly.
Oh, totally. There's a million reasons why not to do something.
Right.
And they compound as the day goes longer, and the fatigue and the mental tiredness and the responsibility stack. I think that the day stacks responsibilities, and what you thought was going to happen in the afternoon may or may not happen, and 8 other things might have to. Today at 3:00, apparently my son wants to go swim. I have 2 other podcasts I'm going to be on. I can't take him. My wife is busy. She's a travel advisor and she's doing stuff for her clients. She can't take him. The school's only 2 miles away. If you want to go, you can bike.
Right.
And I think that's what he's going to end up ultimately doing. He's
Yeah.
We did a metric century on Sunday together, 62 miles that we biked, and he's just really been running a lot and cycling a lot. I feel proud because he's taken after his pops. I did triathlons and stuff, and it's just so much fun to have a workout partner there. But that's another example of life change. He prompted this yesterday in the evening. Hey, at 3:00, I want to go swim. Well, that's a discussion that we have to have on how to manage getting you there.
Yeah, I think that even that part of planning it out for yourself, knowing of this is what I have going on, or having that accountability of no, I'm meeting you online, or I'm going to the gym to go meet a friend at 7:00 or 6:00, whatever time works for you. Do you feel like, or what's your response to maybe this mindset of I'll start working out when I have more time or when I get a chance, or what do you say to that? What are your thoughts?
That's the time fallacy, and it's tomorrow's always tomorrow. Every single person I've ever worked with, all caps, 4-letter word, BUSY. We're all busy in our own context. So I could say, hey, I've got more kids than you, or I've got more clients than you, or I've got blah, 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 whatever. You're just as busy as I am, right? You're juggling your schedule, right? There's no trumping in a sense of I'm busier than you or whatever. We're all relatively busy in our own worlds, juggling the things that we need. Could we as humans do a better job of time management, delegating, saying no to things? 1,000%, myself included. But you can always push it off. And what's happening is that our male population is sacrificing their own health for business, for family, which is obviously important. You have to provide for your family, and I, for one, have a very strong provider instinct in me, and I will stay up late, I will get up early, I will do the work that's needed to provide. And the working out piece can be the absolute first thing that would end up getting chucked out of the schedule, but that ends up being the thing that gives you more energy to be more productive and more focus when you actually are working. Because as humans, we're not machines. We can't just work endlessly. We have to take breaks, and filling it with activity, being better time disciplined in a sense, and managing it a lot better would definitely be the points that we need to talk about and bring to top of your thought to control it, stay in control.
No, I think as men in their 40s, or as dads, or as life gets busier in general, if we just got into work, go home, the gym wasn't even really a part of the everyday life with our fathers. I know my dad never went to a gym, wasn't very physically active at all until later in life, until after he retired. And he started doing more yoga and things like that. But I think that normalcy of even knowing in my own house that if I skipped the gym, well, no one would say anything. It wouldn't be like, well, you should go, right? Like, it's just okay, you need to do this. So I think that still kind of breaking those cycles and those kind of learned behaviors of in our culture to
also, Mike, think about the continued cycle. What happens moving forward if you don't take care of your health? What happens to your boys? What are they learning? What are they seeing? What are they observing from you? Same thing with me. How are my kids seeing how physical exercise and activity is? What is the legacy that you want to have when it's all said and done? And hey, my dad worked a lot, but he was unhealthy, and he ended up dying of a disease that was preventable through taking care of himself, eating healthier food. And that is a story that's being told more and more frequently, with 40% of Americans being overweight or obese. That's where we're heading. It's much less that my dad is an active, healthy, fit individual, and that's how the kids share that. Now I'm getting to the point where my kids are teenagers and they're having thoughts of their own, whereas I still, my brain, think of them as 8-year-olds, right? And they even made fun of me yesterday about, well, we're not 5 anymore, Dad. Right, Papa? We're actually older, and we think, and we have ideas and all this stuff. And I don't know what it looks like because I'm not there yet. But when they're 20 or 30, what do they think? How do they engage with me? And I want health to be a very important part, even more importantly, because if I can instill that in them, then my hope is that they can take care of themselves when they're in their 20s and their 30s, and they're not, because let's face it, this is a real thing. If someone is overweight, they could, I'm just saying this as a generalization, but they could have lower self-esteem, lower confidence, and they don't strive to get into a career path that is best for them, or makes them more money, or provides them the fulfillment of whatever they're doing. They end up just working some job. Their relationships aren't going to be as strong. Then therefore they could pose for potential longer term challenges in relationship, because you just connected with the wrong person early on, and you felt love and connection because you didn't have that confidence to go ask that other girl out, in a sense.
And the opportunities.
Yeah, and so these opportunities aren't going to be there if you're not taking care of yourself.
Right. I think it's important what you're touching on there, of you are breaking the cycle. We are the generation that is breaking that cycle and kind of creating what the new norm is, so that our kids will have a new learned behavior, right? When you're talking about like what they're going to be in their 20s and 30s, well, being engaged, being there, teaching them, not just right from wrong, but of what to eat, what not to eat, that learned behavior kind of stays with you. That's kind of your go-to in your 20s and 30s. You're not trying to break a cycle. You're kind of being able to continue on and to move forward with
the 20s are hard enough as it is, right? You're trying to find your way in life, and you don't need your children to be overweight on top of it and not feeling confident in themselves, not taking bold action, because that's when they can, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have years to be able to fall back on if they made a choice, say they did choose to entrepreneurship and it just didn't work out for them in that one thing. But then chances are they've learned something, and then they can go take another stab at it with those new learned skills and behaviors to then get something to actually work. Because oftentimes I'm in my, it feels like my 8th iteration of who Brian is and what he does. I still do the same thing basically, but the evolution of how I present myself is dramatically different than when I started teaching exercise classes. I wouldn't mind teaching exercise classes, but that's not going to pay my bills. I'd have to I'd have to work out all day long, every day of the week.
Yeah, no, that's good life lessons to learn and to understand for yourself, but also for your kids to see that it is a different world, and you as that example, that kind of beacon of like, well, Dad figured it out, right? And like, you know, I have that ability too, right? I have that knowledge. I can do that. I can follow in those footsteps, which is a great feeling for them and for hopefully you too, of, you know, raising them and being able to lead by example. This is a huge thing.
And when my son's like, hey, let's go bike this bunch, I get all excited. It's like, oh shoot, I've got a partner in crime here to go do activities with, and then create further bonding with him for the future, because I need those connections right now when he's almost 16 to rely on and lean back on when he's 26 and he's too busy for me. Right. He's not too busy for me now, and I have to find ways to carve out. And my wife and I are doing as best of a job as we can to show up to everything and participate and give them tons of opportunities. They're great kids. They get basically, if you get a B in our house, you're already behind. They're smart. They're participating in a lot of activities. They're social. They do things, and that's important. I like how you said earlier, just breaking the generational cycle. I am hell-bent on breaking mine. My dad, my parents were divorced. My wife's parents were divorced. My dad really hasn't been a feature in my life for the last 20 years or so. For whatever reason, I don't know. I think I'm a valued member of society, and I am productive. I add value to. I'm not sure why he doesn't want to participate with my life and my 4 kids. He really doesn't even know my kids at all. And I even thought of him as being, he was a handyman when we were growing up, and I have a very fond childhood memory of him, just an absent parent in my adulthood. But he was the handyman. He could fix anything. And I thought he was going to come over when I bought my first house and help me fix things and lay the laminate flooring and paint things and, you know, fix this thing that broke and help me do those things. And I'm going to be there for my kids, and I'm going to be healthy to be able to show up and do it and not have this pile of excuses of, well, you know, I'm sick, or I don't feel well, or I got to go to the doctors or something, or whatever, as a result of poor health.
Yeah, poor health is a big thing, but you're touching on another aspect of that difference and separating ourselves from the prior generation. Your story, what you're just describing there, is something that I have heard more and more as the years come on, and even my own personal life too, of, you know, I had the thought, I guess the overall statement usually is, I had thought of when I had kids that X, Y, or Z parent will be more involved in my life, and they are not. And I don't know why, and don't know, but all I can do is control what I can control and move forward. And I think that can be a difficult adjustment at first, but I think how you're seeing it, how I'm understanding it, is it's almost refreshing in a sense of like, I'm able to see that and understand that of, hey, he's going to do what he's going to do, and I can't control that. But you know what I can control? I can control what I eat. I can control my relationship with my kids. I can control all these other aspects of life while breaking that cycle, and knowing now, because of that, and knowing how that makes you feel, that you will be there for your kids. I think also touching on that too is, because of the health, that the grandparents, you know, weren't around very much, or they were just kind of didn't live as long, right? And so it's even for some people's
papa, he passed away at 65 when I was getting into high school because of a heart attack. If he would not have, I might have been a golfer, because he absolutely loved golf, and we did all sorts of golf things. And I almost assure you, I would have been on the high school golf team. because he wasn't there, I ended up choosing running because my friend invited me. Dan, he invited me to go run track, and then that became an endurance career for a decade of doing endurance sports for me. One thing that my wife and I'll just piggyback on the things that you just said, but my wife and I have obviously talked about this a lot, but taking the ownership of being the parent. We're the parent, they're the children. It is our job to be present in their life. Right? They're doing their thing. They're learning. They're growing. They're getting exposed to all sorts of stuff, and they have to create that own life. But I am the cornerstone in a sense that is going to always be there to ask questions, to seek guidance, to foster relationship, to push their boundaries and encourage them or teach them when they fail. I'll be there when they fail because they will. We're humans. We all fail on some level, but I'll be there and with compassion, with kindness, with love, and openness to embrace them, to pick them up, dust them off, and send them back out on their way.
The emotional connectedness is a big change generationally, especially for men.
That very much so.
I think is what we're touching on in terms of, maybe he doesn't know how to connect, right? I've heard that before, and it's that generational piece of, you don't know what you had till it's gone, or it's, you don't know how to adapt or change, and it's very difficult to make those changes, when you never have made those attempts or that awareness up until now in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. And
there's still a point to connect, though. If he reach out, just know that there's an uphill climb that needs to be made there, but he could totally get back into my life by being present, by engaging, but he's the parent. He has to lead that. I can't. I'm too busy. I've got way too much going on. One thing, there's two things that actually come to mind. One is the age-old adage of men don't ask for directions, right? And we're just going to be lost, and we're just going to figure it out. Okay, that's one way to go about it. And then secondly is the Cats in the Cradle song by Cat Stevens, right? It's about a son seeking his father's attention and the dad being too busy, and then on the flip side of life, the dad seeking the son's attention and the son's being too busy, and the dad misses out on both fronts because he wasn't present, and that song hits home. So it is important to pay attention to these things, and with, you probably see it a lot, especially directly with what you do, but men need direction just as much as women do. Right? The men are seeking direction, they're seeking connection just as much as women do. I personally have a coach. I like being coached. I like engaging in an accountability relationship, and maybe that's because my dad's not here and I can't leverage him. And so I'm seeking out a faster, more effective, more efficient way to get things done. If I have a problem now, I go to YouTube and figure it out. And I figured it out pretty quick because I figured out how to solve problems for myself quickly.
Or ChatGPT. That's a big one.
Yeah. And here's the thing, in my world, it's really easy to use ChatGPT, right? You just you could, hey, I need a meal plan, I need a workout program. It'll spit it out in 5 seconds, right? But there's the lack of connection, there's a lack of accountability, there's a lack of the support in the challenging times when you go to do the workout, but ChatGPT isn't gonna keep you accountable. right It's just a computer, and so we need some of that human connection. The other thing that I see is that's obviously trending, you see it everywhere now, is the GLP-1s. And that is a way to lose weight, but again, it's just it ends up falling into all the other same category of the fat loss pills, the diets of the 80s, 90s, 2000s and stuff. Of you're not making a sustainable lifestyle change. You're introducing this external thing to be the facilitator of the weight loss. And if for some situations it's important. If you're a diabetic and you have your A1C is over 10 and you're 70 pounds overweight, this could be a really easy way to start to course correct, but it's still going to fall back on lifestyle behavior changes ultimately at the end of the road, because you could gain the weight back and end up in the exact same place, because so many people do.
Right.
And so we can't use those as just catch-alls of what it is. And that's where what I've been evolving to is just creating more an experience, creating more connection, having men show up for other men just as I show up for my four amigos.
Right.
We show up for each other. Hey, we schedule time for on each other's calendars, regardless of how busy we are. We schedule time to show up and connect, and we have good, deep conversations as a result of it too.
That's a great story to tell, and that's, I think, hopefully maybe inspiration for some, but also just kind of that ability to kind of like, you know what, I haven't reached out to this person in a while. I want to, and not being, I don't say scared, but just kind of like, well, you know, what's the worst that happens? Just want to catch up and say hi.
Well, Chris,
isolation. You don't want to be isolated.
I'll piggyback on Chris. He's the most present of all those guys that work out with me. It's convenient because his office is literally less than a half mile from my house, so it's super convenient for him. He comes down, we work out, we grunt, we act like 16-year-olds in here and just like flex at each other and go and all this stuff.
Yeah,
but
it
came by a simple invite. We kept running into each other. I've known this guy for 20 years throughout my career. I've seen him at various points, from my first personal training gym that I was at to when I owned a CrossFit gym. He was in the BNI chapter that I was in, to we'd run into each other with our daughters. He has two daughters. I had one, and they were in the same class. We go to the father-daughter dance. We went 2 years in a row. The second year, he said, hey, how about we have coffee?
Yeah.
And okay, cool. And that literally, I have it on a board that's over there, but we have our broversary. It's May 8th, 2023. I wrote it on the counter so we wouldn't forget. But that's when we had our first workout together. And since then, if you see the board, we meet typically at least 3 times a week, usually, for workouts that we schedule out. And I will assure you that it creates a rise in standard for me. I already am a pretty productive, high energy, high output type person. That's just my personality. But for him, I'm pulling him up, because what he was doing before and how he was thinking before and his actions before, they're different, because guilt by association in a good way. And so he feels better. He's thinking more clearly. Some of the behaviors that he was doing, he's not doing. We've talked about so many different things, from our children to our spouses to business stuff, that the trajectory is up, and he's got no other way to go because Brian's going up, so I might as well go up too, and we both elevate and rise faster together.
It's the power of planning when you do that. And I really like the bro-anniversary.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take that, put that, and it sounds like one thing that you guys do is one thing that DADennial is kind of, when I've done speaking engagements of let it out now. It's like a little lion, of like, using the lion acronym of to let it out now, of whether the grunting or just whatever you're feeling. It can be happy, sad, can be just emotional, can just be raw, just feelings of just tapping into that can really just kind of just release just whatever is on your mind there, and just makes you feel like, okay, I can start now.
We've created a safe space that I can talk about things, and then I can literally leave that workout in a mentally more refreshed, recharged, energetic way to go do whatever I need to do, which is so important, because I didn't quite have that before, because I can't take that to an acquaintance. Just say, hey, I see this guy around town, once or twice a month or something. I can't bear burdens on that person, but men have burdens. Men have all these things that we're talking about, from how do I be a good father, how do I be a good husband, how do I show up for myself, that in this really faster paced world, this is the fastest paced humans have ever experienced, and it's literally getting faster by the day, the week, with the advent of AI and all this stuff. And if you're not posting 8 times a day on every single social media like Gary Vee says, you're falling behind. If you're not doing the Alex Hormozy thing and and doing 4-hour podcasts with everyone known to man, and just work and stuff, then you're falling behind, and it's like, wow, I can't keep up with that. I don't. Or you did the David Goggins. Well, why am I not running 2 hours today and doing as fast as I can? Like there's places for those, say, that bell curve, right? Those guys are on the far end of the bell curve, and they're unique individuals, and we can always, I like to pull inspiration from them to then figure out, how do I fit into my life? I actually literally have a Alex Ramosi hat here, because when I need inspiration, I put it on, and then I can channel my Hermosi to make a social media post or do some business stuff. But then I also have to come back down and connect with my family, because he doesn't have kids.
Right. So, no, it's important to not get, I think what you're talking about is we get stuck in that cycle. It can be a negative feedback loop where it goes around and around of where do we stop it? Yeah. And just using that example again, because it's now in my mind of, when is my broversary? I'm thinking about it now myself with a couple of friends of like, I have no idea, but that will just slow your mind down enough of like, it makes you think of like, oh, what are we going to do this time for this year? Yeah.
Let's do something fun, right? It doesn't have to be, let's go out to a destination, but let's go do an engaging, exciting thing together to connect, to create a memory and an experience together to further foster a relationship, which is what humans want anyways. Nobody, I've traveled a lot, and in all the places that I've been to, nobody just wants to work. Nobody just, making money is fun and enjoyable in a sense, but if you're doing it the wrong way, then it's really not. But we want to live a happy, joy-filled life surrounded by those that we love. And if you don't have those people in your life, then life can be really boring. It can be really sad. I'm just curious how my life is going to change when my 4 kids leave my house, because I'm inundated with distraction, but I am going to miss it so much. I'm going to miss the day when my daughter doesn't want me to read to her for 45 minutes every night. I literally read 2 chapters to her, and I'm falling asleep, and she's pushing me, wake up, because I'm starting to slur words, and I'm just tired because it's 11 something, and I have to get up at 7 to get my second son to cross country practice and such. But I'm going to miss that day so much. Maybe I'll just FaceTime her, like, Emmeline, I need to read to you. I feel I miss it. I need to just read you a chapter of something, some book that we can do together. Which I just had that idea, so I think I'm gonna. If I can bury that in, plant that seed for later, I can recall on that. I just thought of it. That would be a fun thing, a silly thing to do. Like, oh, my dad still reads to me, right? Yeah. That would be when she's 30. That would mean so much to her. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with how much I make. It has nothing to do with how fit I am. It just has that personal connection with her is super important to me.
No, it's a challenge to find that time of like, right, I know I have this extra time, but I don't want to just fill it with things. I want to fill it with purpose and meaning. That can be a struggle for some people. I think you were just kind of touching on too of, along with that changing of learned behaviors and cycles of what do guys do, right? Of like when we meet up, we don't want to just go to a bar anymore.
I don't want to do a bar thing. Right. Occasionally we'll have a beer together, but I'm not. That's not where we're hanging out. What
do we find of we can play golf every now and then, but that can take a long full day. Right. So what do we find of I know, I producer Caesar, we talked about like things that we want to do for hobbies of signing up for like a bonsai class or doing wanting to learn how to formally like taste wine, like just do like a wine tasting class or something. Just something trying these different things, breaking out of that cycle, out of that. What is the norms of things to do on a weekend, or when we can meet up, or our families can meet up, and things we can.
It makes you an interesting human,
for sure,
by doing that stuff.
Yes, I definitely have captured that market of wanting to explore and kind of not like push the boundaries, but just kind of be in that uncomfortable world where I'll do. I think one for me that pops in my mind is yoga classes. I love doing yoga and meditation, and that's female dominated. If I go at 10 a.m.
Sure. Right.
It's just
You're gonna get all
it's just
the
me and the
quotation
moms,
soccer
and then
moms,
just
right?
I open, it's that thing, you open the door here, like, oh, everyone, all the heads turn. I'm like, what the heck is he doing here?
Yeah, right.
It's sometimes just trying to be comfortable in your own skin and trying new things,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I used to teach
being there.
yoga classes. I really enjoy. I always loved a vinyasa flow style, in and out of positions, and then I loved doing corpse pose at the end, shavasana, and then doing progressive relaxation. Pouring the imagery would be pouring warm water in at your toes first, and then going to your ankles and into your calves, and you just fill your body with this warmth water, and you are just progressive relaxation is what that is ultimately, and it's just
Right.
you just feel you're melting into the floor by the time you're done.
Right. I'm still looking and trying to research, and as we talked about, of like, wanting to create DADennial retreats of things, incorporating things like that, like a yoga that is still on the fringe, but as you're describing, as I can testify to, of it can change your day-to-day life, just even doing things like that. If you don't have time to go to the gym, if you don't have time to certainly, if you can at least do 15 minutes of yoga or meditation, how just kind of centering, and that can help your whole mindset and body like prepare for the next day and kind of flush out what's happened all day today, so you're able to move forward. But I still think it can have that stigma. I think there's so many things that still have a certain level of stigma to it, that trying to break through it.
Yeah, yoga isn't a girl's thing or something, right? It's
right.
It's a thing for humans to open themselves up in more ways than just their body.
Right. But you don't see men's classes. You see, it's like
you predominantly
moms groups, things like that. But yeah.
Right.
We were talking earlier about kind of that fast pace. That's where my mind was going here. My own fast pace. So what's your take on things like screen time or that quick fix culture, and how that incorporates into your business and what you do?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that resonated with me recently was Chris Williamson was talking on Modern Men, and there's this photographer that took pictures of people, and they took out the phone in their hand, and you just had people staring at their hands in all sorts of weird positions and body and stuff. And it's unfortunate, it's sad, because we're more connected than ever, but less connected than ever as well. Right. And it's sad that you can't have those connections. And I do work from a phone, and I unfortunately am probably teaching my children this is how you live, because I'm answering text messages. It's literally all work. I'm answering texts, I'm creating social media posts, I'm connecting with you like this, and at all hours of the day, and
right.
It's incredibly hard in our day's world to manage that. And for my wife and I, we do the best we can, but it's still a losing battle, because whatever dopamine seeking engineered show, eyeball seeking grabbing commercial or YouTube short that was created, or these contents when kids watch people playing video games. So right. You're literally going to sit here for hours just watching someone play a video game. This is a waste of time. The only value you could get is if you were learning something from it to improve your actual skill set of playing video games, but that's not the case. That's what I use.
Yeah, that's how
that's not the
do
case.
It in my house.
Yeah, if that's the application, okay, to a point, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, or my son, I have some bikes in the back there that we're riding, and the front derailleur, the low position is a little too far, and when he was cycling on our metric century Sunday, he not once but twice he kicked it off, and the chain popped off. And he's upset because he's trying to bike uphill the one time. He had to stop and then set the chain on. But he said, when are you going to fix it? I said, no. Can you look up how to do it and learn the skill set of how to adjust a front derailleur? Mm-hmm. And he's like, he wanted to just go into this thing. I'm like, I don't even know what it's called. I don't even know what it is. You're smart enough to figure this out. What's the thing that changes the gears on the front of the front bike pedal? Let's just Google that first. And then, it's a derailleur. Okay, how do I change the derailleur to not kick the chain off? the spokes, and it's just like, dude, you're pretty resourceful. So working through this teenage like thing to get him into learning skills, and that's the other thing is, my second son, he's an artist. He's actually sold his art at the age of 13 and 14 and made money doing it, and I want to foster that in him. But this summer he's 14 going into high school. All of a sudden he's watching these Netflix things. It's like, dude, there has to be a balance. You have to work on your craft a certain amount of time, and then you can have some entertainment, right? We all can have some level of entertainment.
Sure.
We just have to be very picky, choosy. But I'm being very intentional. You are missing opportunity from learning and observing world-class people demonstrating tips, tricks, techniques, brush patterns, ways to construct your art that other kids your age aren't doing. And sir, we don't have to say you have to, make 6 figures next year going into high school selling your artwork or something, but you can be a cut above by spending some of that time in some sort of an active learning situation, then applying it, and not just sit on a couch staring at a phone. It's very, it irks me a lot. I don't know how to deal with it.
No, it is a fascinating thing that I tried myself of deleting just Facebook, right? That's one of those things where I felt like I just...
That's how we met, was Facebook.
Yeah, so I just got rid of it completely, thinking of like, well, I'm curious to see what happens myself. And literally for about the first 2 weeks, I would just catch myself putting my phone. I'm like, oh, the app's not there anymore. It's gone. Like, I completely deleted it, and it's just like that memory muscle that just kind of goes to it, of like just having to break it. It was eventually, some people would be like, why aren't you on Facebook anymore? I'm like, well, you can text me. You have my number. Like, the important people that I know, or they still know where to find me and where to get me, and it's just a fascinating study to even try it, of even having that challenge. Sometimes I've told parents to make that like some kind of game or something they can win, or some kind of prize you can put, like, hey, to your kids, of just try to go without it, right? You don't have to permanently delete it, but just go a week and just catch yourself. Like, how many times have you just picked up your phone to go to the app, just knowing of like, oh, your muscle's been trained in your brain just to go to that. Just that awareness alone can sometimes spark that conversation of, wow, I didn't realize, because instead of a parent just telling their kid of like, you have an addiction, you need to stop, you need to get off this, or this, of being able to, let them see, right? And that's where that growth and that fostering of like, just try it for 3 days, right? Like, what's the most you can handle, you think? If they say 3 days, and all right, let's do that, right? And just testing it out for them to see if, wow, all right, I've tried to go on it like 15 times in the last 2 days. Like, that's crazy, right? Of like having a conversation about it.
Each of those would have been at least a minute, probably longer, and they'd be disruptive to whatever else you were doing in that time frame.
Well, that's a conversation piece of like, so what'd you do instead, right? You deleted it, and you caught yourself doing it. So what'd you end up doing? Oh, I picked up a book. You're like, oh, I wanted to. Then I was like, well, I need to go fix. Maybe your example there of like, then I went to go fix the bike. Yeah, it worked out, or just
go do something.
When you start seeing that, then it's that eye opening of like, oh, okay, now I'm understanding of not just that maybe there's a problem, but of like, what is it preventing me from doing, right? What are there things I could be doing with that time instead of 15 minutes just doom scrolling, clips or videos or things
I like
like
to
that.
have a 3 swipes and I'm out.
That's a good one.
Just because nothing's going to come of it. Now, I've been on about 50 podcasts or so in the last 3 to 4 months. I'm being pretty assertive here. And so I actually have relationships now. The problem with those is, so when I see you on there, I will like and comment and stuff. So I'm adding value to these people's worlds now, whereas before I was just watching whatever came up. So
I was curious about nutrition, and you were talking about traveling and being seeing places with your family. So how do you? I feel like that's one of the harder things even for me. Of how do you keep nutrition going when you're traveling, or just juggling kids and just that chaos of their day to day? Of do you have any philosophy or ideas that you utilize?
I like moderation, balance, flexibility. Those are three pillars that I always teach and educate and coach on throughout my whole career, because that's what's truly going to happen. Sure, we can do a restricted diet in a sense or something to get to a certain point in the process, but for lifestyle, you're never going to create the long-term success that you're looking for without those. Last night, impromptu, we ended up going for ice cream and we had pizza. I didn't know we were doing either until about 5 minutes before we were headed there. We went for a family walk, and my wife used it as a bonding moment, because we do that. We've had ice cream in pretty much every of the states, and so we connect over ice cream, and we do it. I got the baby cup, and that's how I manage that stuff. So moderation. Plus, my day-to-day life is filled with very intentional healthy food, nutrition, activity strategies, hydration. Like I have got up my Ninja Turtles cup with some water in it. But I practice this every single day to allow a little buffer room for some of those other things that show up in life. I've been in a 5-pound weight range for 2 decades. Why? Because when it starts to get to the higher end, I start to knock off the nonsense. And when it's at the lower end, I'm usually going to the beach. I've been diligent for a little bit, but to have balance in life and maintain isn't that hard. But when someone's in a fat loss phase, you have to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. And it costs a lot more effort, intention, and awareness is a point that you've been playing out and throwing out here, is being aware of what is even in the food that you're eating. So if you're, say, traveling, then we do need to understand that any restaurant's going to serve you minimum 1,000 calories straight up. Eat half the plate, but that might not satisfy you that much, right? Or it might not be as fun. And then we have to look at, okay, protein, double vegetables, always a super easy way to get out of a restaurant with eating healthier options at a lower calories. Or if you know you're going to be doing the foodie thing and going to a place that has known for that thing, then we can just have a small amount of it. Or maybe we only eat twice a day. Or maybe we're so active on our trip because we plan to live an exciting, active, activity-driven experience instead of just lounging on a couch or sitting on the beach all day long, which is fine, but then let's go move our bodies. Let's go do something to then burn calories to allow for a little extra fun to have the ice cream or have the foodie thing or whatnot. But ultimately, it comes down to awareness. It comes down to making a good decision about what it is. And then lastly, it's so important, is the expectations of the experience themselves. Meaning, when you get home and you just had the best time of your life, we're not stepping on a scale. We're going to wait. I love this rule. It's however many days you're off, it's however many days it takes to get back on. And if you've gone for a week vacation, and you come back on Sunday, let's not even think about stepping on the scale until next Monday. And then we can spend the whole week working back into real life, all the strategies that we've been implementing of getting good, healthy, balanced meals, eating an appropriate amount of calories, drinking your water, moving your body, getting your sleep, and all those basics, because that's what makes this work. It's just doing the basics on repeat. And I probably would imagine you could agree in your profession, right? When we go to the basics of just good mental health, good social skills, good relationship developing, and good self-care, you probably get your guys to do really well. Right. And so it's always the basics. And then when we step on the scale the next Monday, then it's, I'm right where I need to be at. And I had a really good time at that vacation, and I am happy with that experience. That, wow, I gained 6 pounds on vacation, and now you're just souring your vacation because you made the decisions and you chose the actions to do that and get there. And why are we upset about it? Let's just not be upset about it. This is a real life, say, coaching and communication and accountability and expectations on these experiences. But if you did want to lose weight, on that 7-day trip, then you probably were up early walking your 10,000 steps first thing before the day got busy to make sure you buffered
Yeah.
the day, that you did pick, say, that in quotations, the salads or a protein double vegetables. You had a bite of the foodie thing that wasn't known for that area. You didn't have a whole platter of it, and you made good choices so that you did lose weight when you came back. So
Great advice. So we got a couple minutes left.
Yep.
I guess we want to ask the obvious question here. Maybe save that for the end here, as I was doing. So as a dad that is a few pounds loose, where do you start? Like, what's the first thing? Like, where's the first domino to fall?
Next domino, the first thing I usually start with any person that I've ever worked with is, can we do better than we did last week? And then you say, yeah, I probably can. Okay, great. Then with nutrition, could you eat some more vegetables? Could you have some fruit? Could you have lower fat foods or leaner protein sources? Could we have practice eating more regularly through the day, say 3 or 4 meals, and not just skip a meal when you know you should be eating a meal, but that ends up leading you to eat all night because you overscheduled your lunch and you should have eaten it, but you didn't, and you were trying to fast and you actually didn't eat till 2 or 3 o'clock, and then it's just a food roller coaster the rest of the night. That's not how you need to do this. So those are some of the basics. Can we get men to drink 100+ ounces of water? Can I get you moving 10,000 steps or more a day? And if you're not there, maybe you only do 3,000 or 4,000. Can I get you to do 5, maybe 6? Because if you go from 3,000 a day to 10,000, guess what? You've tripled basically, and your body's not going to like you at some point, maybe a week or 3 weeks out. Oh, my knee hurts. Now I can't walk. Now we have problems again, right? And I said, dang it, why didn't you just walk a little bit more than you did the week prior? And if we go to that, say, James Clear Atomic Habits, 1% better. Yep. And that's how you get real sustainable change, and you would probably appreciate that answer, being a coach, therapist, and counselor yourself, right? That's how you make real change, 1% at a time.
No, I'm motivated. I think I'm ready to go for a walk now as soon as we get off now.
And the other thing, so just even using that word there, let's call it out: motivated, willpower, discipline. We don't need to rely on any of those. We need to look at better habits, routines, scheduling, better systems and processes in your day, which then actually make it easier to execute on it. If you plan a lunch break, you eat your lunch and then go walk for 15-20 minutes afterwards. That's what you do every day at 12 or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, that's what you're doing because it's in your schedule. You've planned time for it, and that's what needs executed. Because as adults, I always love to remind people this. Number one, what they do in their work situation is usually significantly more complicated, complex, stressful, all this, than taking care of yourself, right? You choosing to eat an apple instead of a Twinkie is an easy decision, but or it's a simple decision. It's not always easy because of whatever circumstances. So we know that the adults do things they don't want to do all the time because of the paycheck, because of being provider, whatever. So we don't need to rely on that. We just need to know that, okay, these are the objectives, these basic objectives I need to do. How do I implement them into my everyday life? And that's honestly what I've spent the last 20 years figuring out. How do I get people to do what I call the shoelace moments, where I want to choose the Twinkie instead of the apple? Okay, why? Right there, why are you thinking that way? What has led up to that? Have you eaten anything in the last couple of hours? Are you planned out and prepared for any type of food? Have you had a stressful day? Is there a stressful trigger that comes earlier on that triggers that type of response? There's like 8 questions right there off the top of my head of just that random example that I want to get to know you better as to how did you get to that decision of, say, the Twinkie over the apple? Because then that's where the real transformation happens, not in always just choosing the apple, because you could still choose the Twinkie and still have amazing results. It's just that's 2-3 times more calorie dense usually, and not that filling. And it's going to make your day a little bit more challenging to meet your goals in a sense than, say, eating the apple, which I think everyone would agree would move you towards your health goals.
Doesn't give you that sugar rush, but keeps you more on the
sustained
plane there. Sustained. So lastly, we
longer.
do yeah, no, I mean, put a little peanut butter on it too. Get some, feel good about that. So we do a rapid fire DADennial around
please.
here. We'll end out here.
All right.
And we usually do like a, what's your snack? So what's your favorite dad snack when no one's watching, or if someone's watching late night?
Favorite dad snack is, right now, this is just the health coach in me, but I've been mixing chocolate protein powder and cottage cheese with Cool Whip, and maybe I do too much Cool Whip. The non-healthy version dad snack, I am going to look. Well, we just don't have a lot of stuff in the house per se, but say it's Halloween time, then I'm looking for a Baby Ruth or a payday. Okay. So we'll get both sides.
So the next question was, do you have a pump up song for a workout, a thing that gets you going?
Oh yes, too many. There's so many. Just something that gets the heart rate going. One that comes to mind immediately is Can't Stop. I can't recall who exactly plays it. It's a Fluxion. It's a techno song that's EDM. And I can't stop. Yeah, it just entrances me into just that mode of energy that I need to tap into. And we can use things like music to motivate or inspire or give us energy. We can borrow it from that.
Yeah, gives you dopamine, gets you going. Yep. For sure. Do you have a phrase you tell yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed?
Lean in. Take a deep breath, lean in. Because this is a fact of life. If you're living life, you're going to feel overwhelmed. If you're living life, there's a pay to play, and it costs, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to stretch yourself. So, yes, take a deep breath, lean in.
Who inspires you?
Who inspires me? Well, I gave you a couple names throughout this. I guess the most prominent one, because he's just in my face all the time because of the way he does, is Alex Hormozi. I remember seeing him a decade ago when he did his gym launch, and then all of a sudden I saw him pop up because he's purposely doing all the things, and he does an amazing job. So it's really hard to get against. And for me, it resonates with this go-getter type attitude, energy. I resonate because he's got an exercise background, and I want to serve people better. So you have him, or you get old Tony Robbins, or those are some of the bigger names. But say even just Chris can motivate and inspire me because he keeps showing up here. I throw out invites every week to come, and we find times, and he keeps showing up, and that's important for me because if he didn't show up, guess what? I wouldn't work out as much. Not because I don't like it. I love working out, but because I would start to prioritize other things over this hour time that we set aside. Right.
So where can dads go to connect with you or learn more and even jump into your coaching program that you have online?
It's thecalltorise.com. It's a 100-day crucible, in a sense, focused on fat loss. We're going to lose 20, 30 pounds is the goal, and start to really reshape and redefine your health, your nutrition, your fitness, the way you think about yourself, and then even more importantly, be able to connect with those that you love and those important things in your life, being a better husband, a better father, a better leader in your work environment, because I've seen so many stories and results of people getting healthier, having more confidence, and asking different questions, taking different courses of action that result in literally more money at a career, literally better relationships, or exiting relationships that aren't serving that person, that better connections with their kids. I've seen it on a significant number of stories, and that's, I guess, my why is why I'm doing this in the first place. Is men don't have to be overburdened by a midlife crisis, in a sense. I understand why the 40s become that midlife crisis stage, because you have so much responsibility, you got to keep up, and you got to do. Let's not have a midlife crisis, gentlemen. Let's have a midlife a transformation, evolve into more of what you want life to look like. Because then if you're sending that energy out into the universe, you're going to attract what you want, especially in your late 40s, 50s, and that's going to lay the groundwork for a pivotal retirement age in a sense. When we get into 60s, 70s, where you actually can enjoy life and you didn't just work all your life to put money in a bank to pay for healthcare for someone to wipe your butt when you're 65, 70 or whatever, because you're in such poor health. We don't need that.
Being the best version that you can be,
Yes.
mentally, physically, everything in between.
Yes, that's it.
And if this conversation hits home for you, hit the like, follow button. You can check out, obviously, there, thecalltorise.com. Check out the DADennial.com. We'll have a newsletter, and we'll have the links to everything you talked about today on the Call to Rise, so they can check out them for yourselves along myself.
Yeah, there's a 3-day fat loss protocol. If we commit into 100 days, might be a little bit, I don't quite know Brian just yet. We'll have a 3-day Rise 72 call. It's a protocol. It gives you step-by-step on nutrition, step-by-step on exercise, on some mindset, refocusing things to get you I want the next 3 days of you following this simple protocol to feel significantly better than you have been. So that could be an easy starting point too. And we'll have a link to that too.
So go to the Call to Rise, go to DADennial.com.
Yep.
Coach Brian Parana, thank you very much for your time.
I
really appreciate
it. Fun.
Thank you. Hello again. I'd like to thank Brian Parana for coming on. I wanted you to go to his website, thecalltorise.com. That's where you'll be able to find the application to apply for his health and fitness 100-day challenge. And even, as he says, you can start with even the 3-day challenge and see how it goes out. I myself will be trying it out myself and keeping you up to date through our website, DADennial.com. And hopefully you'll see some transformative challenges of growth and ability to feel better physically. It's not just mental, it's a physical journey too. Appreciate his over 20 years of health and fitness knowledge that he has. So please go to thecalltorise.com for him. Please go to DADennial.com, subscribe to our newsletter. Please check out other clips on the YouTube channel of DADennial. Leave any comments, good, no bad, and just any hints and ideas of things you'd like to see or people you'd like to see on. And have a good rest of your day.